Calvin T. Mann, leading Emmy, served over 20,000 youth through speaking, coaching, and mentoring. He has inspired us for years. Welcome to Emmy TV Podcast with your host, Calvin T.
I said, damn.
No, you said the word damn. Do you want me to tell you how you said it?
I know how I said it, Doc.
Do you want me to say it back to you how I think you said it?
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Damn.
We have
Fam.
technical difficulties to
I
kick
said-
off the show.
Damn it.
Each time you said it now, it's
we're-
gotten quieter and quieter.
we're working
I could
through
barely
the-
hear you that.
There we go. There we go. And we are live. Welcome to METV Podcast. I am your host, Mr. Calvin T. Mann. The Queen is in the building as well. And we got a guest in the building. But first, we're going to shout out to the Queen. Hello, Miss Heather.
Hello, good people. Happy to be here.
Yes. Happy to be here. We got the engineer of all, the love bug, the love machine. El Boogoff in the building doing his thing. And our guest, none other than another dope Virgo. We're going to start right there. That's where we're going to start. You know, y'all like to. We're going to start with another dope Virgo doing his thing. For those of you who already know, this man is one of my guys that has been with and stood with and walked with and watched me go from Vicky, the Calvin, the crybaby, to Calvin T. Mann, the national encourager. My brother.
Keep going.
My brother, Andrei Nichols, one of the first men who showed me business success. Brother Andrei, welcome.
Well, I appreciate it, and very humble for you all to say all that, you know. But I don't think I brought anything out that wasn't within you. So, pleasure to be here, my guy.
Sneaking in the back door, all the way from 17 wars, 2 drive-bys, right? 17 pews. My brother, long time no see, Dave Patterson is in the building. Yes. So yes, we're gonna get right to it. This conversation is gonna be around education and I know this right up, Dave Alley. Education and business. Andrei, for you guys that don't know, I literally one time was in the room when he was pitching a multi-level marketing plan. Just being a part of that changed me in the eyes of business. A lot of people don't know what it takes to do that. And so this brilliant brother, as you know, I will always refer to, Andrei has been successful long while many of us are. He gets it. And so, Brother Andrei, tell the people how long you've been in business and why.
You know, it's funny when you ask how long I've been in business, because I think that goes back to when I was a kid shoveling snow in Denver, Colorado. We used to wake up early when there was the heavy snowfall and recognize that the earlier you got out there, the easier it was for you to beat the competition. And that was a disposition that stayed with me throughout my adult years. It started shoveling snow. So entrepreneurship isn't something that came about arbitrarily. I think it was something innate, something that I just appreciated and saw the value of going after what I want. And there was nothing better than coming home and having something in my hand that said, I got this, you know.
Right.
Funny story. I remember one morning, myself and best friend, Ace and Briscoe, so we shoveling snow, and I made $85 this day, right? Literally made $85. I think I was like 11 years old. And come home, and my mother had gave me a chore to do. And I looked at her like, I got $85 in my pocket.
Right.
You know, what you mean clean my room?
Right.
You know I'm rich. but nonetheless, I think entrepreneurship is something that I've always just embraced as being a fabric of myself, and I've seen the fullness and the value of just working hard and something that you want to acclaim for yourself, and seeing the beauty of it, you know, and it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I you know, I'm often, and I think you probably do this. You know, we've done this, even in getting into a library room and just going crazy, and building. But is there a time as a business person yourself that you feel right going into all the success? Matter of fact, let's start with ILEC.
ILEC.
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
Yes.
ILEC stands for Interactive Learning and Education Consulting. The website is www.ilec-edu.com for those who might want to verify that. But we started out in school improvement. Myself and business partner named Carl King, who was a reading interventionist, we met in 2005, and I sat down with him and said I had a vision for a plan to bring about character education programming to students. However, at that time, it was just a vision. I didn't necessarily have a plan. And so this was at Shields in Southfield, actually. And a year later, that's when I said I have a vision for what the business model could look like. And so we started out in school improvement with character education, and then it just began to expand because the quality of our work was just becoming so more renowned. It's one thing when you are actually doing work, but it's another when you can acclaim that you are successful at it and people recognize that, wow, this was a quality experience. And they began asking us to do more. And so it went from character education for students until all of a sudden doing parent workshops, then professional development, and then taking our body of work in our personal lives, him as a reading interventionist, into coaching. And then next thing you know, we have this full-fledged organization that is providing school improvement work, data analysis, instructional leadership coaching, program curriculum development. We had the full gambit. And that wasn't the scope that we had set out for, but it's just one of those recognitions that as an organization begins to expand, if you have the body of expertise that can continue to see that quality of work can take place and meet the need of that client, well, you don't say no. And we've always stayed in our lane. We've never taken on work that was outside of who we are as individuals and as a company, and to make certain that nothing was compromised. And then usher in 2018 when we began to look at our company from a point of how can we show others how to do the same. And that's when we began to take our business model and make a shift. And so now ILEC is a consulting firm that builds a capacity of individuals doing work in the industry of education. So we're taking our work in school improvement as an educational consulting firm and saying, hey, allow us to show you how to build your own enterprise in a successful, meaningful way too. It's very rich when it comes to being research-based. There's the bumps and bruises, that's part of the work too. There's been focus groups that's gone into that. But we have 4 services now, from startup to direction to improvement and growth, that all coincide to where a person might be in the legacy of their organization. Whether you're just starting up and you need help, whether you need some coaching along the way. We have a team of coaches who have business and education experience. And then we offer training and development. And then there's, for strategic deployment, business strategy and analysis. So wherever you are in a life-spanning organization, we got you. And it's predicated upon the experience that we had from starting out in school improvement, So it's a wonderful composition of the acumens coming together, business and education, and providing value to individuals so that they can set forth in a way of being successful in their educational enterprise, their consulting firm, minimizing the mistakes and excess costs, being efficient, and ultimately achieving their dreams. And that's really what it's all about. People just achieving their dreams, and I want to be a part of that.
That is
Awesome.
that is what I mean by brilliant and dope, right? And so
I'll take dope.
yeah, take dope, right? We'll that is what we're talking about, and so in that process, you've also in that business model. You're also, not only helping the business, but you even have a model for those who are just going into business, and you're a coach.
Correct.
Tell us about that.
So with Startup, we have an online curriculum, and that was designed to build, to take advantage of technology and automation. So it's an online course. So it is 6 sessions replete with what a person needs, from starting with the mental dexterity of going into business all the way into operations, the full gambit of what goes into you having a successful organization. So there's 6 sessions right there. And within those 6 sessions, you have 4 modules each, so 24. And a person will be able to log in and matriculate through those courses as they see fit. It's just shy of someone going back to school, but a lot more robust of you doing a Google search, so to speak, or you thinking that you can just get this at a webinar. If you take a look at going into business, there's a lot of nuances where you don't know what you don't know. And I really wanted to ensure that our curriculum eradicated that we gave you exactly what you needed without the complexities. I wanted you to be able to say, wow, this is being presented in a way that I can understand it, and that it's meaningful to me and I get it. Because business does come with certain things that can take you out of your square a little bit. You don't know what you don't know, and I wanted to make certain that we presented in a way that said, hey, you got this. Yes, it is complex, but I'm going to scaffold this. I'm going to break it down in such a way where you can look at it and say, not only can I do this, but I can be successful at it. And I'm surrounded by a team through ILEC, www.ilec-edu.
That's right.
That is here.
Right.
And one of the beauties of the taking the course for a startup is that it comes with coaching too. So that means that not only did you take the class, but now you have someone working with you one-on-one, exclusive to your genre, So if you have an educational consultant firm and say operations, I have a coach who has a background in education and operations. If you are starting, say, a tutoring program, I have someone that has a background in education, but also tutoring. If you're looking for someone where you need help with quality assurance, I have someone background in education, and lo and behold, he works at University of Michigan, and guess what? It's in quality insurance. So we can wrap you around the expertise and the service that you need in order for your business to be successful, because ultimately we want to grow with you and we want to see you shine and again achieve your dreams, because that's what it's really all about.
That's what it's all about. You can't even fathom, right? It's a journey. Business is a journey, and coming from the unprivileged, it's always work, right? It takes a certain amount of work, and it's a task. The average business person is that we go through a ton of negatives and no's, and right, we don't have certain things, but business, like you said, is it. Miss Heather, do you have a question?
Do I have a question for Andrei?
Yes.
Anytime I have an opportunity to pick this brain is awesome. So
You too kind.
Oh.
You too kind.
Oh,
Hold on.
really? So I was thinking about kind of where some of the outcomes of the pandemic, one being this new influx of entrepreneurs, so people who had either entrepreneurial ideas or were at the beginning stages, some of the benefits of the pandemic and some of the resources that were extended to people. People started a lot of businesses, and so people were spending money. So that made the businesses that people were starting very lucrative. And then as the pandemic started to wind down some, and the resources available for the pandemic started to wind down some, people weren't spending in the same way, and people weren't going back to work because of the influx of entrepreneurs. So it kind of threw our economy, I believe, a little bit off balance. So we had so many more entrepreneurs start, and so many people who decided not to go back into the workforce, which I think is a part of this shortage that everybody is having with employees, or motivated employees, because everybody's looking for another way to build that wealth or reclaim some of the that feeling that you got when you were in an entrepreneurial mindset.
Right.
And so what I've noticed now, though, is that a lot of the same people are stuck because people are not spending. That customer base that they may have had is not as lucrative as it was before, and some people are stuck. They don't know how to, because they really didn't go in with a plan other than this is the product or idea that I'm selling, and people are buying it. And so much of that was happening that it was not a lot of investment in education or training or things that would make your business last for throughout. You were under the impression that this money and this wave was going to keep going,
Right.
and people were just taking in that money. So now that like I said, that's not happening anymore, a lot of people are stuck. Like, okay, so what's next? How do I continue to make money? Should I stay in business? Should I go back to work? And they're kind of going back and forth. Some people are working for a period of time until the pay scale changes. They have a lot of incentives for the first 90 or 60 days that you stay on the job. You'll make this amount of money, but then it'll level back out, for average rate, and then people are quitting. So, it has a lot of impact on what's happening with the shortages, what's happening with our economy and things like that. So, what advice, so my question actually is, what advice do you have for people who had that upscale? I know going to that website and taking some of those classes might be one, but as they have made that incline, now they're on that decline. How do you start that incline again?
So, you've asked an excellent question, actually, and it's pretty loaded. So
Yes.
I'm going to compartmentalize, and so I want to start with going back to why a person is going into business, and the reason why this is so important is that it can help frame what your strategic plan and aims are.
Okay.
For example, if this is going to be something on the side, you know that you aren't trying to retire by this. If this is something that you're looking to do in the realm of independency, then you are going to need to put together a leverage plan. But it's so important for a person to know, what is it that I want to get out of this business? And a lot of times people go into it arbitrarily. They have a great idea and it's novice, but they really haven't fathomed with, what do I want to garnish from this enterprise? And what that does is allow you to game plan accordingly. For example, if I'm looking to be independent, then I know that I'm going to need to leverage an income from some other place until my own endeavors are self-supporting. It makes no sense to just leave well alone if you don't have the resources or leverage from someplace else. You know, oftentimes we hear the stories of, say, you know, your Damon Dash and your Jay-Z's of the world. But these individuals had money before they started out in the entertainment realm. You take a look at a lot of individuals who talk about, I just left my job. But yeah, well, they had 6 to 8 months of finances set aside. So you do need something to leverage. You do need to keep the lights and water on and a quarter tank of gas until your dreams come to fruition. And so that's what's key from the onset. What do you want to gain from this? Is it just something on the side, or if it's something that's going to be part of your long-term plans? Then you have to take a look at what we frame as feasibility study. And that's where you say, okay, I have a great idea, but is there a marketplace for this? Just because you have a great idea, just because you are thinking of something that's fairly noble, doesn't mean that people are buying this thing. You know, so you have to put together some form of study to make certain that there's clientele there. And part of the answer to what you were speaking of is, unfortunately, a lot of people go into business and not having any strategic aims. They're not putting together some type of formatted plan that says, hey, what is my vision for this thing? And now let me see this out and program accordingly. They go into it arbitrarily, and then you hit some barriers along the way, and then all of a sudden you want to quit. You know, and that's not a successful business. And there's always going to be ups and downs in any business, regardless of the industry or the generation. There's always going to be ups and downs. But if that's not something that you were preparing for, when that comes, you're going to find solace in quitting.
Yeah,
You know?
you hit it on the nail. I made all those mistakes, right? And you hitting it on the nail, because a lot of people don't get that. I was the one jumped out here, right, with just a T-shirt and an idea, right, and with no money, right, and here we are. Right, and we're now moving EMIY Apparel to for-profit.
Amen.
And I'm hesitant, so to speak, in that I haven't put the real focus on the for-profit because of the different things that impact, and really because EMIY Inc. is growing here, and so my focus really is here. But I know in that regard, getting EMIY Apparel to where it needs to be to feed it, because it's not going to happen. In my opinion, we're going to always be looking for people to buy into.
And yes, you will. And just because we're inspired doesn't mean we shouldn't be calculating at the same moment.
Right.
And you know, you hear that mantra, that saying where people say, man, I'm chasing my dreams. Well, I kind of disagree. You know, when something has been birthed within you, you're not chasing nothing, you're releasing it.
Yeah.
You're releasing that thing.
Wow.
And so what'll happen is, when you release that energy, that same thing will end up coming back to you in some fashion. And so while you are in the realm of being calculating, those things that you are in need of are going to find themselves in your pocket.
Yep. Yep.
Because it's a focus. But when we are moving in, say, arbitrary or in uncalculated ways, we're scattered and we're all over the place. And that's when we find ourselves just constantly responding to things and staying within the realm of a strategic plan. And when you have a plan, that's when you can look at it and say, you know what, I'm going to see this thing out. No matter what, I'm going to get to the other side of this. It's just like running. It's just like working out. You're not going to get to any form of greatness until you push past that point of being tired. You're not going to get to any place of just being better until you've pushed yourself to say that, like, wow, I can't go on anymore, but you know what? I'm going to do it. That's where the best of who you are is. It's on that other side. You know, if you get to that point and you quit, it really, I question the sincerity and how serious you were. But if you continue to keep going on, that's when that mama mentality kicks in. That's when greatness begins to look at you in the face and say, you serious about this thing.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
And
now
Right.
pain don't mean nothing.
Right.
But I mean, what's pain?
Right. What's that?
What is that?
Right. Dave, brother Dave, do you have a question at this time?
I understand that I'm really highly impressed with you. Probably you come here to be impressive, but you impress me dearly because you have kind of simplified your whole mindset for people to be able to comprehend where you're coming from. Because so many times there's so many complexities that people have to encounter. And I remember Einstein said, if you can't simplify to a 5-year-old can get it, you don't understand it yourself. And that's usually the problem when we go into business, because we go in with the wrong attitude. We may operate physically, if you will, in a very simplistic way, but mentally and spiritually, we're compromised because we make everything complex. And then we don't have those to guide us or spoon feed us. There was another entrepreneur that I met on the show, and one thing that I liked about her was that she had come to the point to simplify so that anybody that would encounter her would be able to do it because they had the opportunity by someone who was spoon feeding. And it appears that your business and mindset is based on that, to help others to be able to take on something that, they have a dream, they have a vision, they have an ideal, but be able to put it all in perspective in a simple way. Now, I know it takes work to do that, but you seem to have come to that point, and I like that. I guess my question would be to you, so I can get a bit more clarity. When you speak on education, what arena are you in? Because education is a broad word. So help me to understand me. So I have someone who's in education. And now you narrowed it down to say if you need an HR, if you need it in this arena. But I'd like for you to expand a little bit on the idea of what you mean by I have this person in education.
Right. No.
Because that's a big, big picture.
Great question. And now I have like various lenses going off because I've been a school superintendent, high school principal, consultant, and I sit on a school board. So I got various lenses that's going off right now. But when you take a look at everything that goes within public policy, because public education is public policy. So you have everything there from academia to operations, to the law, to curriculum design, to support services, to food, to equipment. Anything that feeds into what goes into the body of education is what I'm speaking of right now. So a person could have a company that is all about facilities and maintenance, but they are wanting to do business in the industry of education. Then we are able to assist them. It could be someone that wants to set up an enterprise for curriculum design. There you have it. Or technology. So anything that touches within public education is what we are there for. But what we do know is that the industry of education is different from, say, being in automotive, being in airspace, being in construction, agriculture, or whatever it might be. And so that's one reason why our curriculum is curtailed to the point of speaking to those who are in this particular industry in itself. And that's at the same moment why our coaches are so significant, because I can match you with someone who has an expertise in that respective lane. Because talking to someone who has, say, again, a mentor company or a tutoring initiative is totally different from someone in operations. And so I would want to be able to match you with someone who can speak your particular language, but yet we know that it's within the industry of education.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
So we were having a conversation on education, and we were talking about a number of things. You were touching on that has come down the pipeline, from social and emotional learning to
The equity.
the equity involvement.
Yes. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes. I want to start with social emotional learning. One of the things that the pandemic did was provide a Band-Aid for us. And I say that from a point of what we were contending with was always there. The pandemic was just that covering. But now when you pull that back, you're seeing conversations replete with trauma, depression, anxieties, and people just looking to find balance in their life. And again, underlying those concerns have always been prevalent. It was just the pandemic that put us in a position that said, how significant is this thing? And now all of a sudden, it's at the forefront of our conversations and leading dialogue from a point of where should we begin, and that non-cognitive aspect of who we are is so significant. We've all heard that you're no good for anyone if you're not good for yourself. And we have to start with where we are and learning how to keep our balance in the midst of chaos, in the midst of trauma and things of that. It is so important for a person to say, wait a second, let me capture where I'm at and have that enduring understanding of, do I need any type of support here? Because if not, I will find myself just keep going and going and going, and all of a sudden I'm going to crash. And it's been happening for a multiplicity of years where we haven't been paying attention. And so when you start taking a look at the data from a point of depression and suicides, and even at younger age groups and grade levels, we're looking at it now like, wow, this is so mesmerizing. But the thing of the matter is, always been here.
It's been there.
It's always been here.
I was that 10-year-old.
Yeah, and so to be grateful for the opportunity for us to have the moment, just to say, okay, where am I in this thing? When you go back to 2020, when 8 Mile was just shut down, people were at home and forced to be at home and to reckon with, wow, where am I right now? I'm at home. I never even saw my kitchen like this before.
Right.
And you just painted it 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
But now it looks different, and the kids sound different to me. The TV looks different. It's like, this is a whole nother world that now I can take in consideration. It's like, where have I been? And so I don't want to say that the pandemic was a good thing, because of course it is and was not. And at the same moment, on the other side of it, it is how I came out of it. And there's some opportunities there that we can say, I came out of this thing a whole lot better than prior to, because I had the time to regulate myself and to focus on where I am, and so social emotional learning does that, particularly with in schools. 5 core competencies, self-awareness, and self-management, social awareness, but being able to just take a look and surround ourselves with these varying supports that build upon agency, and the humanity of who we are, and to capture that and say, you know what, I'm here. I'm here in the fullest and the fullest essence of myself, and that before I contend with any issue, let me make certain that I don't lose myself. And we've been doing that for far too long.
Equity.
Whoa, another loaded one. Well, the only reason, and this is just my humble opinion, the only reason why equity and inclusion has become such a significant issue as of late is because we've been re-examining our funding sources. And now everyone wants a piece of the pie. You take a look at what was birthed from the civil rights movement. Although black folk were after our civil rights, there were other groups that were able to, I don't want to say ride the bandwagon, but at the same time, be a part of that.
Yes.
And now moving forward, it's the same with equity and inclusion, and so it's forcing the discussion of how have we been allocating resources to our schools, to certain initiatives, to certain things that are at the forefront of our nation. When you talk of gay, lesbian, when you talk of transgender, you talk about all these things that everyone wants to be able to say, I'm significant too. Mm-hmm. And so this is why the equity conversation is so significant.
Me too.
And from that, you're going to see a reprioritization of resources, where here's what I am due based off of allocations coming down. It's deep. I really wish that equity and inclusion could all be about just that thing, but when it's all said and done, it's really been about how we've been funding initiatives and things rather than just being right by people.
CRT.
Oh man, you just gonna keep me loaded today, huh?
Well, I figured that because usually I'm in your position. I'm running and sharing, and right. So I figure we might as well get the maximum.
CRT,
Yes.
critical race theory, huh? So I think what's significant for people to know is that there's various theories that feed into decisions. We have theories for agriculture, we have theories for space, we have theories for construction. You have various theories, construction theory, between should you make a decision based off of consensus or based off of reality and what people observe. So there's hundreds of theories that politicians have been using to make decisions for decades. So let's not just talk about CRT as this is new.
Right.
The only reason why it's new right now is because of 45 and his following that have made race an issue to keep us divided. I'll be frank.
Right.
To keep us divided. But nonetheless, CRT has always been around because it feeds into how we're going about making decisions. And so the thing with CRT is that education in itself always evolves to a point where something becomes antiquated. The things that were taught in, say, the 1950s or 60s, they serve that point in time, but they might not need to be taught now.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
so we are at a point where we do have to re-examine what needs to be taught right now and by who and where. And the reason I start with where is that there's differences in the needs of certain municipalities. If I'm in Detroit metropolitan area, and the kids here are going to school here, living here, what they need in order to be responsible-minded citizens and to contribute here is different from a kid in Ohio, or different from a kid in Idaho. Who am I to dictate what they should be learning? So we are at a point where we have to re-examine what it is that our kids need in that jurisdiction, and this is not to be dismissive. It's just getting to a point of how are we preparing our kids for a life of independency post high school, especially in rural municipalities when data is showing that they aren't leaving. So
At all.
no. And then it's also about instructional delivery. It's not necessarily about what is being taught, but it's how it's being presented. I don't want your kid to feel bad about something that is being taught to them in class. I wouldn't want that for my own kid. I wouldn't want them to walk away feeling guilty or anything like that. Unfortunately, there's certain things that have taken place in our country that it brings some sadness. Slavery is a sad undertaking. The Holocaust is a sad undertaking. You can't talk about these things, and if you have any type of empathy, to not say like, man, that was wrong. But I'm not trying to make a kid feel a certain way. And so teachers need to be further equipped with what is referenced as Socratic questioning and rigor, to be able to present information that expands a person's thought processes so that they can fathom that thing and reckon for themselves without me trying to sway you either way.
And that's the problem. Can you get out of your own way as a teacher to make sure that every child learns what they need to learn?
Most teachers aren't trained for that, unfortunately.
Right. We were doing in Southfield, we were doing the EMIY, right? Giving the actual tools to the teachers in showing the success of being able to pull them in, right? And then get the outcome from them, right? So our whole EMIY is engage, empower, and encourage. That moves every kid. Right, and we had a procedure of how we engage them. We have a procedure how you empower them. Then you have a procedure how you encourage them. That moves them. So through the process, through all the work I've been doing for 37 years, this became a success, right? But are you allowed to teach that to schools and teachers to actually apply that method to move? Because the thing that really gets me is education is more feminine than it is masculine these days. It's we don't really necessarily have to have exercise in the school. We move it to another, right? We take the arts out, right? And now we're going to bring the arts back in through another way. Music. Okay, well, you just go play sports, right? The swimming, all the mechanics, the life skills that, when I was going to school, those things got eliminated because of exactly what you said. You start dealing with more of the trauma. And we got into the middle of where you look in certain communities where trauma became a big issue. So it was easier, right? Now education became more, you have 3 times the women in it, which ups the ante. And so the males, right, which, what is it, 2%, 3%, 5%? 5% black male teachers, right? And then what is it for males as well in education, right? So then when you look at that, the boy does, and and maybe this is me because of my lane and where we are, we know this is a way to add, so to speak, try the EMIY or try this different method so it's inclusive of the male, where it doesn't make him feel less, right? Because we're losing way too, like you said, we're losing way too many boys through suicide. As you know, black boys 5 to 11, number one in suicide, right? And so when you get into those areas of education, that's another area we have to improve in, I think.
So, one of the things you highlighted there was black males in education in itself. And the data is showing right now, to just make it plain, is that men have been going after money, women have been going after knowledge. And that's
Fact.
why you're seeing such a disparity right there.
Yeah.
Men recognize that we're called upon to be a primary caretaker for that responsibly minded man I'm speaking
Right.
of, right?
Right.
And that there's a certain, I guess you could say, glass ceiling in education, period, black, white, male, female, that you will only make so much. You will only make so much as a teacher, you know?
Right.
And so if I'm looking at an occupation that says 40,000, that's not gonna cut it. Let's just be frank. You know, if you live in a metropolitan area, and after taxes, after responsibilities, more is needed.
Right.
And so for males, particularly black males, we haven't seen education as sexy. If you were to go out to floods right now, if you were out and about, and you tell someone, "Yeah, I'm a teacher," you might get looked at sideways. Like, how long you gonna be doing that? I mean, seriously, it's like, okay, what's next?
Right, because of the income.
Yeah.
Right.
And kids will be the first to tell you that this is where they don't want to be.
But we didn't make trade sexy.
No, we haven't. But that paycheck made trade sexy.
That paycheck is trade, making trade real sexy.
The paycheck made it real sexy.
And the demand. And the demand.
And the demand.
And the demand.
Right.
And so what we have to do is bring back some prestige to academia, beginning with pay structures, and again, going back to the equity conversation, to how we're funding our schools, because there should be a greater premium on what we're paying our educators across the board. No one should be working in the school right now 40 hours or more and still having a part-time job. At one point when I was high school principal, I think I had like 25% of my staff who had part-time jobs. That's pathetic.
Right.
That is surely just sad, you know. And so we have to take a look at how we are funding our schools and the resources that are set aside to see that people can go about this wholeheartedly and accommodate themselves and their family and do it in a way where it's pleasurable, not to an extent where I got to get off work and I got to think about work. You know, and then there's also the respect that needs to come in too. We have to do a better job of protecting our educators when it comes to safety. Booyah. And that includes respect too. You know, we have put so much responsibility in our schools where they become surrogate parents. We're asking our schools to educate. We're asking them to feed. We're asking them to clothe. We're asking them to keep them after school. Public educators have been made into surrogate parents, and you want to do all this for $40,000, $50,000 a year?
Plus,
it's just not fair.
Plus, getting cussed out extensively and threatened unnecessarily, and
that's always going to happen. The issue is the recourse. You know, there used to be a recourse on the other side of that. The worst thing that you could have ever told me was, "You about to get a call home. Oh, don't do that. Please, I'll wash your car."
Right.
Whatever. Don't call Al. Don't call Tracy. Please don't do that. Now, unfortunately, it's okay. My mom on the way anyway.
Yeah.
The reverence.
But you just hit it right there. That is part of that single household piece, right? That piece and the piece that's surrounded around checks, single household, child support, those things, those pieces are really affecting how children are being educated, how they conduct themselves, how they handle themselves in school, what they're getting before they even get to school. You was getting education before you even got to the school door. I was getting education before I even got to the school door. Before I even got to, right, my aunt got the zoo pencil. I'm popping you. You gonna learn this math, right? You gonna get this, right? You going into school with this. But when you go into a school, after preparing a kid like that, you go into a school, the kid runs into a considerable amount of trauma, disrespect, brokenness, ignorance. Like it runs, and so every day, depending on the circumstance, the kid has to go. The one thing I could say about your school when I came to your school,
Bradford. That was Bradford Academy.
Bradford Academy,
yep.
right?
2013.
Right.
I remember.
Right. The one thing that was present that you don't always see is a relationship. You had relationships. That brings me back to the school door. Not the punishment. You had relationships.
I'm gonna tell you how that started. So in summer 2011, myself and the admin team, we met with all new families coming into the district one-on-one. And it was an opportunity for us to have a beautiful level set. I wanted for them to know me as a man and leader of the school, and to ensure that mom and dad, let's make certain that we're on the same page here. Mm-hmm. Because at that time I have one son, but during the school day I got 350 kids. They mine. And I want to make certain that you and I are on the same page, and that you know that I love them, that I care about them, and that when I make decisions, it's in their best interest. Because if I don't have your understanding and your back on this, it doesn't matter what I bring to their attention, there's going to be some rebuke. And we establish, as you just said, that key word, the relationship from the onset. And strikingly enough, the students were the ones who appreciated that even more.
Yeah.
Because when it's all said and done, a kid wants to be loved.
Yep.
They want to feel love.
Yep.
They want to know that this person is bringing something to my attention that's for my betterment, even when it's in the form of rebuke, but I can trust you. And you do that on a consistent basis, and you hire a team from your office staff to your security to your teachers. You do that where everybody embodies the same thing and you have the shared consciousness. That's where school reform is. It's in culture and climate. It's not just strictly into the academic realms and raising proficiency inside of scores. It starts with the culture and climate and your approach to learning. And when I can garnish that, we're going to move mountains.
Yeah.
I moved Bradford from the bottom 11% of the state to 44 within 2 years, and it was made a reward school.
Yeah.
Graduated 98% of my kids and saw 75% of them going to college. But that's just what we do.
That it sits 98% parental involvement sits in our mentoring program. You and I are always on the phone and having conversation, and that's another reason why I said we need our own school. But that's a whole nother dynamic, right? That's a whole nother conversation. And
I know, Dave. I hope I'm not putting you on the spot with this. But when you look at, I know we're wrapping up too. If you would talk a little bit about your motto, if you have a minute or so to just kind of highlight some of the things that Andrei mentioned and some of the things that you put in your program too. Are you able to do that before we wrap up?
how much time we got, bro?
But
You got a minute, Dave. Dave.
uh-oh.
Okay.
Oh,
So,
well,
Andrei,
we definitely
tell
have
us
to have that
where-
conversation again.
Tell everybody where they can reach you at.
You can find me on Facebook. My it's Andrei Nichols, Andrei Nichols, Nichols. I'm the only one out there because I got the I at the end. The website www.ilec-edu.com. If you complete the contact form, it comes straight to me. And would just love just to hear from you. An event that you have, some ideas that you want to filter through, need some business coaching, where we're here to help and most definitely add value to people.
So, Heather, real quick.
Well, I'm just excited about even the conversation around education and some of the insights that you brought forward for that was awesome to hear. So I thank you for being here. I'm excited to keep having these conversations because that and those pieces as part of the solution is essential.
Yeah, there we go. Look forward to being back.
So, yes. So to get you to a place that we always come to, we're at that place. Andrei, Dave is about to get his doctorate. We're always talking about how we can make a difference in boys and men's and family lives, right? Heather is helping women and doing her thing, right? But I think you hit on something very, very important. Culture and climate. Culture has been in jeopardy for years. Therefore, climate is going to always be off. You ask for respect. RESPECT. When you ask for respect, the original respect song literally was for a man, if you didn't know that. And so we're going to take this moment right now to point out to you how those three things, culture, climate, and respect, it's a way to shift, change your home, change your job, change your school, change your friendships, change your relationships, but more importantly, change your community. If you don't have your ass up doing something to try to make a difference within this culture, the black culture, and I'm specifically speaking to us at this particular time, then you are part of the problem. We are all in this to be better. My name is Calvin Mann. God bless you and encourage me. I'm young. Peace.
Second part of my life, I lead it with my grandma. She used to cook me breakfast, lunch, and dinner. She told me keep my head to the sky, yeah, be a winner. My great grandpa Steve used to take me school, shopping and out to dinner. Yeah, I remember them family barbecues, cruising around Bella Park, facing my favorite Aunt Patricia and Clark. She used to sit me and my cousins together and tell us we ain't cousins, we really brother. It's a blessing. Now that we grown, we tougher than leather. Even if it go from bad to worse, we still where we hurt. Make sure my baby girl tight, and make sure that I family first. Let's start the game over.